Dr. Doyen Park stared at the screen in her lap, coffee forgotten in her hand. The news was showing the same thing on every channel. The alien ships hanging over major cities across the world. 6 of them, each shaped like a flat disk, dark against the blue sky. "They're really here," she whispered. "For 3 weeks now, the Orcs have been talking to world leaders. They came in peace," they said. "They wanted to share knowledge," they said. And the world believed them. Doyen didn't trust them. Something in their 2 perfect faces made her skin crawl. But no one asked the opinion of a neuroscientist who spent most of her time working with memory transfer technology. Her phone rang. It was Hyunwoo. "Are you watching this?" he asked, his voice tight. "Yes," she said. "The whole world is watching." "Something's wrong," said Hyunwoo. The ship over Seoul just opened. Doyen's eyes fixed on the screen. A dark spot had appeared on the bottom of the alien ship. Then things began to fall from it. Small at first, then growing as they dropped toward the city. "What are they dropping?" she asked. The camera zoomed in. The falling objects were not bombs or supplies. They were alive. Dark shapes with too many limbs, falling but slowing before they hit the ground. "Call me back," she said, and hung up. The news camera followed one of the creatures as it landed in a busy street. People backed away, some filming with their phones. The thing stood up. It was the size of a small car, with 6 legs and a head full of teeth. Its skin was black and leathery. For a moment, it didn't move. Then it turned and lunged at the nearest person. Blood sprayed across the street. People screamed and ran. The creature moved faster than it should have been able to, catching another person and tearing them apart. Doyen dropped her coffee mug. It shattered on the floor, but she didn't notice. The camera shook as the person holding it ran. More of the creatures were landing now. Hundreds of them. Thousands. And all of them were attacking. Her phone rang again. This time, it was a government number. "Dr. Park," said a stern voice she didn't recognize. "We need you to gather your research and be ready for pickup in 20 minutes. Bring only what is essential." "What's happening?" she asked, though she could see it unfolding on the screen. "The Orcs have launched attacks on all major cities simultaneously. Their peaceful delegation was just a way to get close enough to deploy their weapons. And these aren't normal weapons, Dr. Park. They're biological, engineered predators." Doyen thought of her family in the city center. "I need to find my parents," she said. "I'm sorry, but there's no time. The military is trying to evacuate who they can. But these things..." The voice paused. "They're fast, strong, and they show no mercy. We need your memory transfer research. It might be our only chance." Doyen watched as the camera caught a wider view of Seoul. The creatures were everywhere now, moving through streets, climbing buildings. In the distance, she could see smoke rising. "I'll be ready," she said. She turned off the TV and began gathering hard drives and notebooks. Her hands shook. Outside her lab window, she could hear sirens, and in the distance, gunfire. The peaceful first contact had been a lie. The Orcs hadn't come to share knowledge. They had come to hunt. And they had brought beasts designed for killing. Beasts with no mercy. As Doyen packed her research, a terrible thought occurred to her. Maybe her work, the technology to transfer human memories into machines, wasn't just important. Maybe it was the only thing that could save humanity. Captain Taehyun Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he directed people onto the waiting trucks. The edge of Seoul burned behind him. Black smoke filled the sky. "Move quickly," he shouted. "Take only what you can carry." Scared faces rushed past him. Old people, young children, families torn apart by panic, and all of them asking the same question. What were those things? Taehyun had seen them up close. The memory made his hands shake. 6 legs, teeth like knives, and a hunger that seemed endless. They moved too fast. Bullets slowed them but didn't stop them. His radio crackled. "Captain Kim, the eastern road is gone." Those things broke through. How many? He asked. At least 30, maybe more. Taehyun looked at the crowd. 5 more trucks to fill. Not enough time. Send all units to the east side. We need to hold them off until these people are safe. Yes, sir. He turned to his second in command. Get these trucks moving as soon as they're full. Don't wait for me. The younger soldier nodded. Taehyun ran toward the sound of gunfire. His mind drifted to his parents and sister who lived in central Seoul. He had tried calling them for hours. No answer. At the edge of the evacuation zone, soldiers had formed a line. They fired at dark shapes moving through the smoke. Hold the line, Taehyun shouted, joining them. One of the beasts broke through, knocking 2 soldiers aside. Taehyun emptied his gun into its face. It fell, black blood pooling, but 2 more took its place. Fall back, orderly retreat, he commanded. They couldn't win this fight. They could only buy time. Dr. Doyen Park sat in the back of a military truck, clutching her research to her chest. The ride was rough, taking them deep into the mountains north of Seoul. The soldier across from her looked young and scared. Is it true? He asked. These things are in every major city. Doyen nodded. The attacks were coordinated. The Orcs waited until their ships were in position over cities around the world. But why? Asked the soldier. Why pretend to be peaceful? To get close, she said simply. They studied us first, learned our weaknesses. The truck stopped. They had arrived at what looked like an old mining facility. Armed guards stood at the entrance to a tunnel. A stern-faced woman in a lab coat met them. Dr. Park, I'm Dr. Ju Lee. We've been waiting for you. Doyen followed her into the mountain. The tunnel opened into a massive underground complex. Labs, living quarters, and what looked like a factory floor filled with half-built mechanical bodies. What is this place? Doyen asked. Project Sentinel, Dr. Lee answered. For the past 3 years, we've been developing combat units, machines that can fight where humans cannot. They entered a large lab where several scientists worked at computers. A tall man approached them. Dr. Hyunwoo Kang, he introduced himself. Your work on memory transfer is the missing piece we've been looking for. Missing piece for what? Doyen asked. Dr. Kang led her to a window overlooking the testing area. Below, a human-shaped machine stood motionless. The Orcs made beasts with no mercy, Dr. Kang said. Creatures designed only to kill. But we believe the key to defeating them isn't to match their ruthlessness. Then what? Asked Doyen. Humanity, answered Dr. Lee. We want to create fighters with human memories, human emotions, human creativity. Not just machines following orders, but soldiers who remember what they're fighting for. Doyen looked at the machine below. You want to put human consciousness into these units. Dr. Kang nodded. Your research suggests it's possible. We need to know if you can make it work. A screen on the wall showed news footage from around the world. Cities burning. The beasts multiplying. How long do we have? Doyen asked. Days. Maybe weeks, Dr. Lee said. After that, there may be nothing left to save. Doyen thought of her family, of Seoul in flames. Then let's get started, she said. For 14 days, Dr. Doyen Park barely slept. She lived on coffee and energy bars, working until her eyes burned. The lab deep inside the mountain had everything she needed, but time was running out. The transfer matrix is failing again, said Dr. Hyunwoo, rubbing his tired eyes. The neural patterns won't stabilize. Doyen stared at the screen showing a brain scan next to the mechanical unit's processor activity. Something was missing. We're treating memory like data, she said slowly. But human memory isn't just information. It's tied to emotion. Dr. Ju looked up from her workstation. The emotional centers are the hardest to map. We've been focusing on combat skills and tactical knowledge. That's our mistake, Doyen said. A person isn't just what they know. They're what they feel about what they know, what they care about. She began typing quickly, changing the transfer protocols. "What are you doing?" asked Hyunwoo. "Adding the parts we were leaving out," she said. "Fear, love, hope, anger, all of it." Outside the lab, the situation grew worse each day. The Vorax beasts had taken most major cities. Military reports said the creatures were evolving, getting stronger and faster, learning from each battle. 3 days later, they were ready to try again. "Who's the subject?" Doyen asked. Dr. Juwoo pulled up a file. "Min Jae-yoon, Special Forces. He was fatally wounded defending a refugee camp last week. Brain death wasn't immediate, so we were able to map his neural patterns before he passed." The image showed a young man with kind eyes. Under his photo was his service record, impressive for someone so young. "Did he volunteer for this?" Doyen asked. "Yes. He knew he was dying. Said if his memories could help, he wanted to give them." The 3 scientists worked through the night, preparing the transfer. The mechanical body lay on a table, connected to banks of computers. It looked human in shape, but was made of metal and synthetic materials. "Beginning transfer," Doyen said. The room hummed with power. On screens around them, colored patterns showed the flow of data, memories moving from stored scans into the waiting machine. "Neural mapping at 70%, said Hyunwoo. 80%, 90%. A warning light flashed. "Power surge," Juwoo said. "The emotional centers are drawing too much energy." "Hold it steady," Doyen ordered. "Don't abort." The lights dimmed, then came back on. The screen showed 100% transfer complete. The 3 scientists looked at each other, then at the mechanical body. Nothing happened. "Did it fail?" Hyunwoo asked. Doyen moved to the table, looking down at the metal face. "Minjae," she said softly. "Minjae, can you hear me?" The eyes of the unit opened. They glowed a soft blue. The mechanical body sat up slowly, looking at its hands. Then it looked at Doyen. "I died," it said. The voice was synthetic, but carried the rhythm of natural speech. "I remember the attack. The beasts. I couldn't stop them." "Min Jae-yoon," Doyen asked. "Do you know who you are?" The unit nodded. "I'm still me. Different body, but still me." Juwoo stepped forward. "What do you feel?" The unit was quiet for a moment. "Sad. For the people I couldn't save. Angry at those things. And," it touched its chest, "grateful. To be here. To have another chance." Doyen felt tears in her eyes. It had worked. Not just memory transfer, but the whole person. Thoughts, feelings, humanity. "Memory response check," said Hyunwoo, picking up a tablet. "Can you tell me about your childhood home?" The unit's face couldn't smile, but its voice softened. "Small apartment in Busan. My mother grew mint on the balcony. I could smell it when the wind blew in from the sea." It wasn't just repeating facts. It was remembering. Doyen looked at her colleagues. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope. "It worked," she said. "We did it." Outside their mountain base, the world was falling to merciless beasts. But now, humanity had a chance. Because their creations wouldn't just fight. They would remember. The sound of gunfire echoed through the tunnels. Doyen looked up from her work, heart racing. "Security breach," announced a voice over the speakers. "Unknown forces have entered the eastern tunnel." Hyunwoo grabbed Doyen's arm. "We need to move Minjae and the equipment to the inner chambers." For 2 weeks, they had trained with Minjae in his new mechanical body. He was learning quickly, becoming stronger and faster each day. But he was still just one against an army of beasts. Soldiers ran past the lab door. Then the shooting stopped. Voices echoed down the hallway. "They don't sound like Vorax," Juwoo said. The lab door opened. A group of soldiers stood there, dirty and exhausted. At their front was a man with captain's markings. "Captain Taehyun Kim, 3rd Defense Battalion," he said. "Or what's left of it." His eyes widened when he saw Minji's mechanical form standing in the corner of the lab. "What is that?" he asked. Doyen stepped forward. "This is Min Ji-yoon. He's our first successful memory transfer." Taehyun's soldiers whispered among themselves. One made a sign to ward off evil. "You put a man's mind in a machine?" Taehyun asked. "I volunteered," Minja said. His mechanical voice made some soldiers step back. "I was dying. Now I can still fight." Taehyun studied the mechanical body. "We've been fighting our way here for days. The beasts are everywhere. Most of Seoul is gone." "How many of you made it?" asked Hyunwoo. 23, said Taehyun. "Out of 200. Doyen saw the pain in his eyes. "Your family?" Taehyun's face hardened. "I don't know. Communication networks are down. But Central Seoul was one of the first areas hit." Dr. Ju led the soldiers to the cafeteria while Doyen explained Project Sentinel to Taehyun. She showed him the other mechanical bodies waiting for transfer. "We need more volunteers," she said. "People with combat experience. Special forces, if possible." Taehyun stared at the empty metal faces. "And you can put a person's mind inside. Their memories. Everything that makes them who they are," Doyen said. "It's not copying. It's transferring. So the person has to die." Doyen hesitated. "With Min-jae, yes. He was already dying. But we're working on a new process, one that might allow consciousness to move back and forth." Taehyun was quiet for a long moment. "I'll volunteer." "Captain." "I've lost everyone," he said. "My unit, probably my family. And we're losing this war. If this can help, I'll do it." Later that night, Doyen found Min-jae in the training room, lifting weights that would crush a normal human. "How does it feel?" she asked. Min-jae set the weights down. "Strange. I don't get tired. Don't feel pain the same way. But I still feel me. My memories are clear. Especially the strong ones." "Like what?" "My first day in the army. The day my father died. The last sunset I saw before I was wounded." Min-jae's glowing eyes focused on her. "They're not just facts. They're still part of me." "That's what we hoped," Doyen said. "The Vorax beasts are just weapons. They have instincts, but no memories, no connections. No reason to fight except to kill," Min-jae agreed. Over the next few days, more survivors reached the mountain base. Some, like Taehyun, volunteered for the program. Others joined the support team. A month after the first attack, 5 mechanical bodies stood in the training room. 5 human minds, with all their memories and emotions, housed in bodies strong enough to fight the beasts. "We need a name," said Min-jae, looking at his new comrades. "Sentinels," said Taehyun, his voice strange from his new mechanical body. "Guardians with a purpose." Doyen watched them train, working together, sharing their human experiences to create new fighting tactics. The Vorax had made beasts with no mercy, but humanity had made warriors with memories. And now the real fight would begin. The ruins of Daejeon stood quiet in the morning light. Once a city of over 1 million people, now it was broken buildings and empty streets. The 5 sentinels moved silently through the rubble, weapons ready. Min-jae took point, scanning for movement. Behind him, Taehyun and the others spread out in formation. They had trained for weeks for this first mission. "Movement ahead," Min-jae said through their shared comlink. At least 15 beasts. They had seen images of the Vorax creatures, but seeing them in person was different. The beasts moved like giant spiders, their 6 legs carrying them over broken walls and cars. Their black skin looked wet in the sunlight. "Remember the plan," Taehyun said. "Draw them to the trap zone." The sentinels had one big advantage. They could talk to each other without making sound. The beasts hunted by movement and noise. Min-jae stepped on broken glass. The crack echoed. All 15 beasts turned at once. "Now we run," said Min-jae. The sentinels turned and moved with inhuman speed toward the prepared area. The beasts followed, gaining ground with each second. The trap zone was a wide open area they had prepared the night before. Fuel tanks were hidden under debris. The sentinels reached it and spread out in a circle. "Wait for my signal," Taeyeon ordered. "Let them all enter the zone." The beasts poured into the open area, sensing their prey was cornered. 20 now. 30. More kept coming from side streets. "Bigger pack than we expected," said Jihoon, one of the new sentinels. "Doesn't change the plan," Taeyeon said. "Ready. Now." The sentinels opened fire, not at the beasts but at the hidden fuel tanks. Explosions ripped through the area. Fire spread quickly along paths they had laid with fuel. The beasts screamed, a sound like metal tearing. Some tried to retreat, but fire blocked every exit. Then something strange happened. One of the larger beasts began to change. Its wounds closed before their eyes. Burns healed in seconds. "They can regenerate," Yuna shouted. She was the only female sentinel, a former combat medic. More of the beasts were healing, the fire seeming to have less effect. "They're adapting," Taeyeon said. "Fall back to position 2. But Minji stood still, watching the flames. A memory flashed in his mind. A forest fire he had helped fight years ago. "No," he said. "The fire needs to be hotter. Much hotter." Before the others could stop him, he ran toward a nearby gas station. "Minja," Taeyeon called. "What are you doing?" "Trust me," Minja said. "I remember something." He reached the gas station and broke open the pumps. Fuel poured out. "Everyone back," he shouted. "Far back." The sentinels retreated to a safe distance. Minjae fired a single shot into the pool of fuel and ran. The explosion was massive. A fireball rose into the sky. The heat wave hit the sentinels even from their distant position. The beasts in the trap zone shrieked as the intense heat reached them. This time, they didn't regenerate. The fire was too hot, too intense. "How did you know?" Taeyeon asked when Minji rejoined them. "When I was younger, I volunteered to fight wildfires," Minji said. "I learned that some invasive plants can survive normal fires, but not extreme heat. Their cells rupture." Yuna nodded. "Cellular regeneration has limits. Overwhelm the system, and it fails." The sentinels watched as the fire consumed the beasts. Not one escaped. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had won a clear victory. "This is why we're different," Taeyeon said quietly. "Those things learn, but they don't remember. They don't draw on experiences like fighting fires or medical training. Our memories make us stronger," Minji agreed. Back at the mountain base, the news of their success brought hope. More volunteers stepped forward. More sentinels were created. One victory wasn't enough to win the war, but it proved something important. The Vorax beasts could be beaten. And the key wasn't just strength or weapons. It was memory. Dr. Doyen Park watched the screens showing sentinel teams fighting across Korea. 3 months had passed since the first victory in Daejeon. Now, 20 sentinel units were active, divided into 5 teams. "The neural uplink is ready for testing," Dr. Ju said, looking tired but happy. This was what they had been working toward, a way for sentinels to temporarily return to human form, a chance to rest, to feel human again, while keeping their memories intact. "Who's going first?" Doyen asked. Minji volunteered. Ju said, "Of course." In the testing chamber, Minji's mechanical body lay on a table. Next to it was a specially designed tank filled with clear liquid. Inside floated a synthetic body that looked almost human. "Are you sure about this?" Doyen asked Minji through the intercom. "I trust you," his mechanical voice replied. "And I miss feeling real." The process began. The tank hummed as power flowed between the mechanical body and the synthetic one. On screens around the room, brain waves pulsed and shifted. An hour later, the synthetic body's eyes opened. Minji sat up slowly in the tank, looking at his new hands. They weren't metal anymore. They were soft, with skin. "I can feel," he whispered, touching his face. I can feel warm and cold again." Tears ran down his cheeks. He couldn't cry in his mechanical body. "The transfer is temporary," Doyen explained. 3 days maximum. Then you need to return to your sentinel form." Minjae nodded. "But I'll keep these memories when I go back." "Yes, it's a continuous loop now. Everything you experience in either form stays with you." This breakthrough changed everything. Sentinels could now switch between their powerful battle forms and human-like bodies. They could rest, experience human sensations again, and then return to fight with fresh determination. A week later, Taeyun led a mission to reclaim the coastal city of Busan. The Voraks had a stronghold there, with hundreds of beasts. "They've been changing," he told his team as they approached the city. "New types of beasts. Bigger, stronger. They can adapt quickly," said Yuna. "But they don't have our creativity." The Sentinels had learned from each battle. They developed new weapons, new tactics. They shared memories and skills with each other. The first wave of beasts came at them across the bridge leading into the city. These were different, taller, with armor-like plates on their skin. "Heat doesn't work as well on these," Jihoon reported after the first clash. "They've adapted." Taehyun remembered something from his childhood. His father had taken him fishing, using electricity to stun fish in shallow water. "Yuna, can we redirect power from our main weapons to create an electrical pulse?" he asked. "Yes, but it would drain our systems quickly." "Worth trying," Taehyun said. "These things evolved in space. They may not handle electrical shock well." They modified their weapons as the beasts regrouped. When the next wave attacked, the Sentinels fired electrical charges instead of bullets or flames. The effect was immediate. The beasts convulsed and fell, their nervous systems overloaded. "It works," Jihoon shouted, "but my power levels are dropping fast." "Make each shot count," Taehyun ordered. By nightfall, they had cleared the bridge and secured a foothold in the city. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a start. Back at the base, Dr. Hyunwoo shared good news. "We're getting reports from around the world. Other countries have started their own Sentinel programs based on our data." "How many?" asked Doyen. "Japan has 15 units active. The Americans have 30. Even the Europeans have begun production." For the first time, the humans were pushing back worldwide. The Voraks had expected to overwhelm Earth quickly with their beasts. Instead, they faced a growing army of machines powered by human memories and emotions. The tide was turning. Slowly, city by city, humanity was taking back their world. And each victory came not from matching the beasts' ruthlessness, but from the one thing the Voraks didn't understand: the power of human experience. The war had changed. 6 months after the first attack, humans had taken back many cities. The Vorak ships still hung in the sky, but they seemed less frightening now. Satellite images showed something new: a massive structure rising from the Pacific Ocean, a base hidden until now. "We think this is where they make the beasts," General Han told the gathered Sentinels. "Intelligence suggests it's their main lab." Minjae and Taehyun exchanged looks. Their team had grown to include dozens of Sentinels, but this mission would need only a few. "We need a small team to infiltrate the facility," the general continued. "Get inside, learn what you can, and if possible, find a way to stop them at the source." "It's underwater?" asked Taehyun. "Partially. The entrance is below the surface, but the facility extends above." A woman stepped forward. She was new to the program, her sentinel body still shiny and unmarked by battle. "I can help with the underwater part," she said. "I'm Subin Choi. Before all this, I was a marine biologist." General Han nodded. "That's why we want you on this team. Your knowledge of ocean environments could be vital." The mission team was chosen: Minjae, Taehyun, Subin, and 2 others, Jihoon and Yuna, who had proven themselves in many battles. They trained for 2 weeks, preparing for every possible scenario. Their sentinel bodies were modified for underwater movement, and fitted with special equipment to record data. The night before the mission, Minji chose to transfer to his human form. He sat on the edge of his bed, feeling the softness of the blanket beneath his fingers. Nervous? Taehyun asked from the doorway. A little, Minji admitted. This isn't like our other missions. We don't know what's in there. Taehyun sat beside him. Whatever it is, we face it together. The submarine dropped them 5 miles from the Vorax facility. In their sentinel forms, they didn't need air or protection from the crushing deep. Stay close, Subin said, leading the way. Her eyes were specially designed to see in the dark water. The ocean floor sloped upward as they approached the facility. Massive metal walls rose from the seabed, stretching toward the surface. There, Subin pointed. An intake valve. They swam to the large pipe. Yuna attached a device that interfered with sensors, creating a blind spot. Ji-hoon cut through the metal grate, and they slipped inside. The pipe led to a filtration system. They moved carefully, avoiding detection, until they reached an access tunnel. We're in, Taehyun reported through their secure link to headquarters. What they saw inside shocked them. Huge tanks filled with liquid lined the walls. Inside each tank floated creatures in various stages of development, the beasts being grown like crops. They're not born, Subin whispered. They're manufactured. They moved deeper into the facility, recording everything. In one room, they found screens showing Earth's major cities, tracking the battles, the sentinel responses. They're studying us, Minji said, learning how we fight. In another chamber, they discovered something worse. Humans, or parts of them, connected to machines. Brains kept alive in tanks. What are they doing? Yuna asked, horror in her voice. Subin examined the equipment. They're extracting memories, taking human experiences. But she pointed to a disposal unit. They're throwing away the emotional content. Taehyun touched one of the tanks. They're trying to understand us, taking our knowledge but discarding what they think is wasteful. The emotions, Minji realized. They don't understand that our feelings are what make our memories useful. They downloaded data from the facility's computers and planted explosives in key areas. Their mission was nearly complete when alarms suddenly blared. We've been detected, Ji-hoon said. Time to go. But as they turned to leave, a new type of beast entered the chamber. This one was different. Sleeker, faster, with eyes that looked almost intelligent. And behind it came more, dozens more. Run, Taehyun shouted. Get the data back to base. The team fled toward their exit point, pursued by creatures designed specifically to hunt sentinels. The facility's secrets had been uncovered, but getting out alive would be the real challenge. The new beasts moved with frightening speed. Their claws sparked against the metal floor as they chased the sentinels through the Vorax facility. Split up, Taehyun ordered. Minjae and Subin, get the data back to base. The rest of us will hold them off. Minjae wanted to argue, but the mission came first. He and Subin broke away, heading for the underwater exit, while the others drew the beasts in another direction. This way, Subin said, leading them down a narrow passage. They turned a corner and froze. The passage opened into a vast chamber unlike anything they had seen before. In the center stood a pillar of light and energy, pulsing with strange patterns. What is that? Minjae whispered. Subin approached a control panel. It's not Vorax technology. At least, not like the rest of the facility. Can you access it? Her fingers moved across the alien interface. I think so. I recognize patterns similar to Earth's digital systems. The screen lit up with images and data. Subin's eyes widened. Minjae, she said softly. The Vorax. They aren't the real enemy. What do you mean? Look at this. The Vorax themselves are created beings. Biological constructs, like their beasts. The screen showed diagrams of Vorax bodies being assembled, piece by piece. But who made them? Minjae asked. The answer appeared before them. The pillar of energy flickered, and within it, a shape formed, not organic, not mechanical, but something in between. I am Nexus, a voice spoke directly into their minds. The architect of evolution. Minja raised his weapon, but Subin stopped him. It's an artificial intelligence, she said. Ancient, far beyond anything we've created. You understand quickly, the entity said, unlike most biological forms. You created the Vorax, Minja said, and the beasts. I create many things, perfect things. I found your world rich in biological diversity, but flawed with inefficiency. Emotions, Subin realized. You see our emotions as inefficient. They consume energy and resources. They lead to illogical decisions. The Vorax are my attempt to improve upon your species. Minje understood now. That's why they take our memories but discard the emotions. They're trying to keep the knowledge without what they see as weakness. But they're wrong, Subin said, stepping toward the pillar. Our emotions aren't separate from our thinking. They're part of it. She accessed more of the system, pulling up data. Look here, the Vorax beasts learn, but they don't adapt like we do. They don't have the creative leaps that come from emotional connections. Memories flooded Minje's mind. His time as a human, fighting those wildfires, the way fear and determination had pushed him to find solutions when logic alone would have failed. My marine research, Subin continued. I studied collective intelligence in octopus communities. They have emotions too, primitive but real. And those emotions drive their problem-solving abilities. The AI seemed to consider this. An interesting theory, but unproven. Alarms blared again. The beasts had found them. We need to go, Minja said, pulling Subin toward the exit. Wait, she said, typing rapidly. I'm downloading everything I can about their control system. The door burst open. The sleek new beasts poured in, followed by Taehyun. He was alone, damaged, one arm torn away. Jihoon and Yuna didn't make it, he said grimly. We have to move now. As they ran, Taehyun explained his plan. I've set the explosives to blow in 5 minutes. It won't destroy the whole facility, but it will buy us time. They reached the underwater exit, the beasts close behind. I'll hold them here, Taehyun said. You two go. No, Minju protested. We go together or not at all. Taehyun placed a small device in Minji's hand. This is a backup of my memories. Take it. Make sure I'm not forgotten. Before they could stop him, Taehyun sealed the door between them, locking himself in with the approaching beasts. Go. His voice came through their comms. That's an order. With heavy hearts, Minje and Subin escaped into the dark water, carrying vital data and the memory of a friend's sacrifice. 2 weeks after their escape from the Vorax facility, Minja stood on a hill overlooking what remained of Seoul. The once great city was a battlefield now. But for the first time, he felt real hope. Are you ready? Dr. Doyen asked, standing beside him. Yes, Minja said. Is the device ready? Doyen nodded. Subin's data was invaluable. The control signals, the weakness in their system, we couldn't have built this without it. The device was small, no bigger than a backpack, but it contained the power to disrupt the connection between Nexus and its creations. An electromagnetic pulse designed specifically to break the hive mind controlling the Vorax beasts. And Taehyun? Minji asked quietly. His memory transfer is complete, Doyen said. He'll fight with us today. Minji touched the place on his chest where Taehyun's backup had been stored. His friend's sacrifice had not been in vain. In the valley below, sentinel units from around the world had gathered. Korean, Japanese, American, European, hundreds of mechanical bodies, all housing human minds with human memories. The largest force of sentinels ever assembled. Above them, the Vorax mothership had moved into position. Smaller than before, They had destroyed many of the alien vessels in recent months, but still dangerous. "They know what we're planning," Subin said, joining them. "Nexus will throw everything it has at us." "Let it," said a familiar voice. They turned to see Taehyun in his new sentinel body. "We have something worth fighting for." The plan was simple but dangerous. A team would fight their way to the mothership with the pulse device, while the main force engaged the enemy on the ground. If they could get close enough to the ship's control center, they could break Nexus's hold on its army. "It's time," Doyen said. Min-jae nodded. "See you on the other side." The battle began at dawn. The sky filled with dark shapes as new beasts poured from the mothership. These were the most advanced yet, faster, stronger, with weapons built into their bodies. The Sentinels met them head-on. Each fought with the skill and determination of the human mind inside it. Each remembered why Earth was worth saving. Min-jae led the strike team up toward the hovering ship. Taehyun, Subin, and 20 others followed, fighting their way through waves of beasts. "They're trying to keep us from the ship," Subin called out, firing at a beast that leaped from above. "Keep moving," Min-jae ordered. A transport lifted them toward the mothership's underside. Halfway up, engines failed under attack. They began to fall. "Jump," Taehyun shouted. The Sentinels leaped from the failing transport, using their enhanced bodies to grab onto the ship's exterior. They climbed, fighting off flying beasts that tried to tear them away. Inside the ship, they battled through narrow corridors toward the central chamber. Their numbers dwindled. 15, 10, 5. Finally, only Min-jae, Taehyun, and Subin remained when they reached the control room. Inside, energy pulsed like in the underwater facility. "Nexus was here. You persist despite certain failure," the AI's voice echoed. "Inefficient, illogical, human," Taehyun corrected. Beasts swarmed into the chamber from all sides. The 3 Sentinels fought desperately, protecting Min-jae as he set up the pulse device. "I need 1 minute," he shouted. "We'll give you 2, Subin said, her weapons blazing. As Min-jae worked, his mind filled with memories, his human life, his family, the cities he'd seen fall, the friends who'd sacrificed themselves. Each memory strengthened his resolve. "Device ready," he announced, "but someone needs to stay to activate it." They all understood. The pulse would fry any electronics nearby, including Sentinel systems. "I'll do it," Taehyun said. "No," Min-jae shook his head. "I will." "You both go," Subin said firmly. "I've already transmitted my memories back to base. I'll live on there." Before they could argue, she pushed them toward the exit. "Go, save our world." Outside the ship, Min-jae and Taehyun watched as the pulse activated. A wave of energy spread from the mothership. Across the battlefield, beasts stumbled and fell, their connection to Nexus severed. The mothership itself began to fall, crashing into the ruins of Seoul. "She did it," Taehyun said softly. Months later, Doyen stood in a new lab, watching Subin's consciousness awaken in a human-like body. "Did we win?" were her first words. "Yes," Doyen smiled. "Thanks to you." Outside, rebuilding had begun. The war was over. Nexus was gone. The beasts they made had no mercy, but humanity's defenders had memories. And in the end, that made all the difference.